Every part of the United Kingdom is now in lockdown.
That sinking feeling. Here we go again. Across the UK, a return to deserted streets, empty classrooms and closed shops. All hopes now pinned on a speedy vaccine rollout.
Today we're off to Sheffield, where I'm going to be looking at an office that we've got under contract. This office is 6,000 square feet. It's double storey. It's got the potential to be subdivided in the future as well. I'm going to do a tenant interview as part of my due diligence, where I'm meeting the finance director of the company. The company is headquartered at this office. They signed up on a 5-year lease 1.5 years ago, so there's about 3.5 years to go on the lease, and it's generating on average 50 grand a year. It goes up from 48 in 2,000 increments from the time that I'm going to be owning it up to 54. So pretty excited about this one. I think it's a good deal. We haven't exchanged yet. This is just part of my due diligence period. So off we go to Sheffield.
Buying commercial property for me is all about risk versus reward. My investment strategy right now is to buy commercial property for cash flow that has some kind of uplift potential. Now this could be through subdivision or a development. Back in January last year, I thought it might be a good idea to buy this fully tenanted commercial property right in the middle of lockdown 3, when the government was advising people to just stay at home and not work in the office if they don't need to. To help you better understand why I thought this would be a good investment, I'm going to go through some of the pros and cons of what I thought was good about this property and the things that concern me about it. And this way, I hope to help you understand a bit if you're looking at commercial property and what kind of due diligence things I look at, what are my thoughts, and these things might help you when you're comparing whether to get a residential buy-to-let or a commercial buy-to-let. I'm also then going to compare what it would be like to get a residential buy-to-let for the same amount of money and what the returns that you could achieve from 3 different capital cities in the UK. The reason I'm doing that is because, again, we're looking at the risk versus reward, because commercial property is a bit more risky than it might be to buy a residential buy-to-let, because residential buy-to-lets are perceived as safer, easier, you can get bigger loans for them. So it might be, for a lot of people, seen as a safer way to play things compared to commercial. I know when I watch these videos, I'm always interested in understanding the actual numbers of the property deals. So I'm going to take you through that later on in this video. I'm going to show you the entire cost of this transaction, what it would be, and then you can determine whether you think the risk is worth the reward when it comes to how much cash it would cost and what was the return on that, how much does it cash flow, because we've all got different appetites for risk, and I think that would be helpful. And then you'll find out if I actually went on to buy this property. So one quick favour, if you get any value out of this video, please remember to smash the like button. This will really help out my YouTube channel. If you've got any questions or any comments, comment below and I'll do my best to answer all of them. So let's get into what I thought was good about this property. It was a fully tenanted property, had 5 years on the lease. The lease was signed relatively recently, back in October 2019. The tenants had been in location on this property near enough from the point of view when it was finished the build on the property. I think they moved in around 2011. In the lease, all outgoings are the responsibility of the tenant. It's not quite a full repairing and insuring lease because there's a service charge component in it, but again, service charge is paid by the tenant on top of the rent, and that covers all the outgoings to do with the property. Also like the fact that the rent was being increased every year by £2,000. So some leases just have a standard amount of rent. They also have break clauses in there. There's no break clause, and the rent was being increased every year. So your return is improving every year. It had good road links, it was close to the M1, it was also close to a train station, walking distance, and it's also close to a fairly big shopping centre, which is great for office workers and things like that. Had a walking track around the outside as well, straight to the shopping centre, straight to the train station. All these things were ticking the boxes for me. Other big bonus was the fact that the tenant was using this particular office as their headquarters. It's not a satellite office for them or anything like that. They do have other offices, other locations up and down the UK, but this one is their headquartered office, which for me was a bit of a bonus from that perspective, because it kind of means they're less likely to get rid of their headquarters over a satellite office. So these were the things I went up for when you saw me in that video, to conduct a tenant interview and ask some questions about that type of thing. Did they like the property? Why is it their headquarters? Is it meeting their needs? Is there new needs that they can see on the horizon where the property would fall short, that kind of thing. I had about 50 odd questions that I asked them as part of my tenant interview questionnaire, which is one part of my due diligence process when I'm buying a property. Other good thing was the replacement cost for this property was a lot higher than what I was actually looking at buying it for, up to maybe even 50% lower. So in my mind, I'm buying this at well below replacement value cost. It also on paper was above my target rate of 9% cash on cash return for me to be looking at a property that I want to be buying. And it did have an uplift potential where it could be subdivided, and what that means is that one side could be an office for one tenant and another side could be an office for another tenant, because the functions in the middle can just be kind of split in half and you've got two segregated parts that can be independently tenanted and then potentially sold off that way or just independently managed. On the negative side of this, the location isn't perfect. It's kind of in a secondary location. It's not like in Sheffield city centre or anything like that. It's kind of between Sheffield and Rotherham, halfway between the two. It is kind of a bit of an industrial area, not too bad. It's like semi-industrial. There's a car wash and other offices nearby, some other warehouses, that type of thing. But it's kind of being improved, that area. So it's kind of okay, but it's not like in the best location. The other negative was that it's got just 17 car spaces. This is the thing that came up as part of the tenant interview. Car parking was slightly tight when everyone's in the office. The other negative is that there's a service charge for a single tenant. This makes no sense really. It should just be a full repairing, insuring lease with a single tenant. Don't need a service charge because they're responsible for all the outgoings as part of that then. And it's the same if it's a service charge. One tenant pays the entire service charge. They're responsible still for all their costs. It would just mean that you don't need to get a property manager in place to manage that service charge. The property also has a lift, which can be seen as a bonus or a negative, but for me it's a negative from the point of view it's upkeep, maintenance, repairs, looking after that lift, as it's not really required. It's only a double-storey property. You can walk up the stairs, a lift in for heavy goods, I guess, that kind of thing, but I saw that as a bit of a negative. So let's get into the numbers now. So the numbers were, they were asking £595,000 for this property. Now I put an offer initially at £560,000. We got accepted, but then when I paid for a valuation and other things that come up in due diligence, I renegotiated that down to £550,000, and that's what we agreed on as the purchase price for this property. Then we've got legals and stamp duty and those types of other bank fees and those types of things. Now that ain't added on to that amount meant that the actual cost of this property was £581,000. I got a commercial loan for this property and I was able to get a 65% loan to value loan, and that worked out based on the valuation from that property with their bank fees added on top and things like that, around £338,500, so £338,500 I got a loan for, and the rest was cash down for myself. I had to then find the balance, which was £242,500 I had to get out of my own pocket. So that meant that the purchase price per square foot is £84 per square foot, which is pretty good. It's less than replacement value. The income on this property was from 46,000 to 54,000, and for the purpose of these numbers I'm just going to put £54,000 in, because if I got it renewed it's unlikely I would drop the rent below £54,000 going forward, so I'm just going to use the highest figure for that. The loan was 5.6% capital and repayment on a variable rate, and that equals £2,300 per month at the moment that I was paying for that. So overall my cash flow is £2,200 per month, equals a cash on cash return of 10.89%. So it easily goes above my 9% target cash on cash return I was looking at if I was to put offers in properties. So let's now go and compare what you could get if you looked at residential buy-to-let compared to this office. Is it a good investment, or is it better deals to be had in the residential buy-to-let market? We're going to look in London, we're going to look in Nottingham city centre, and we're going to look in Liverpool city centre and compare what you can get for the kind of same amount of money, £550,000, and what returns can you achieve in each of those places. So let's get into that. So here we are on Rightmove, and what I'd want to do is just put in an area here. I'm going to pick St John's Wood in London, and we're going to put a max price of 550, any property type, any number of bedrooms, that kind of thing. We'll leave it by highest price. Let's quickly flick through, see if there's anything that's more than 2 beds. This one, for example, is 550 and the return is 1,700. So let's use this as an example. So already we can see that we're going to be able to get 400, just under 500 square foot property. It's going to cost us 550. It's in Belgrave Gardens, lovely property, nice looking property. But this is only going to be able to return us £1,700 a month in rental income. When you compare that to the office block, same price, 550, and it's generating 4,500 per month in rental income on an FRR lease. There's no other maintenance or repairing costs. This one is probably leasehold, which means you're going to be paying ground rent. It's got a 12-month expiring in May, so that's not long away. You got 1,700, then you got a void period maybe after this. You got tenant turnover costs, so you might have to refresh the property, do a bit of paint, do a bit of maintenance. While they're living there, there might be stuff that goes wrong. Toilets get blocked up, appliances break. You know, you got these other things. You got maybe a property management cost. So those types of things you got to take off of this 1,700. So your gross income is not your net income that you're going to be getting, and this is costing you 550. But you'd buy this if you were looking to make capital appreciation, because this is going to go up from 550. In 10 years time, this could be worth maybe £1 million. So that's where you make the money on this one, but you're not going to be buying this to make you financially free, because it's not really going to cash flow. Some other areas, and let's look at Nottingham's another good area for buy-to-let. So let's say we've got 550 again. We don't care about the beds or the property type, we're just doing it by highest price. Let's see what we can get for our money in Nottingham. That looks good, great investment opportunity. Let's see what this one is. So this is sold for 550, so someone's bought this. 8 bedrooms, semi-detached, looks lovely, lovely looking property. What is this rent for? Have they put it in here? 6.3% gross yield. No, it's gross. That's not bad. So that would work out about 2,900. Let's round it up. That's not bad. That's better than our the one that we can get in London. Bit better, but it's still not at the level that we can get with the office commercial property. Nottinghamshire, how is this fared when it comes to capital appreciation? So we can go to land registry and just check on areas for capital appreciation. So we can just literally go, let's pick the city of Nottinghamshire, confirm, let's pick a date. So something that was in 2010 would be 105 grand to buy, semi-detached, would be now in 2022, but they've got data up to November 21, 195,000. So it's kind of nearly doubled in 12 years. Nearly doubled, not quite. You know, judge that for yourself, whether you think that that's worthwhile. You know, commercial properties still go up. Do the house price index for St John's Wood, just so you kind of get an idea. So we can see over that same period, 300 grand to 553 grand. So yeah, it's not doubled. Let's check out Liverpool, and if we again made that 550, sales, this one's 550, but it's 3 beds, terraced, over 4 floors. So let's see if we went to rent Mount Street. No idea where that is. But here, there's Mount Street. Here's one. Okay, so let's say it's a student house, but we can only get 6 bedrooms, 7 bedrooms, 3 beds. So you could buy this, convert it to a HMO, you'd be able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bedrooms in there. Which one was a 6 bedroom? This one. Similar kind of looking place to that, and they're looking to get 542 per calendar month, students only. So 542 times 6, 3,252 per month. So that's not bad for your money. Again, that's beating the Nottingham one, it's beating the London one. We're in Liverpool city centre, but we're going to have to change its use to HMO, get a licence for the HMO, and then put in fire doors, all the regulations to make it a HMO. So it's going to cost some money to make all of that happen. 1 bathroom, there's 1 ensuite. Roughly, it's going to be about that. So again, you can kind of see that a month. You got student, you then got hassle, you got aggravation. You got 6 students individually renting by the room, or they don't pay their rent. All of that stuff, which a lot of that's gone on with HMOs in the last 12 to 24 months. Being a HMO landlord, I don't think it's been very easy with the fact that you can't evict anyone either. So that's been a real problem. If people haven't been paying you rent, you got no income, you can't evict them. They're just living there for free, essentially, in your residential property. And then let's say if I was to go and check the capital appreciation for Liverpool over the same time frame, it's not been too good. So this is a terraced house. It's about 100 grand. It's 2010. 150, 143 exactly in 2022 nearly, and so you can see it's just gone up 44,000 pounds in 12 years, gone up 43% kind of thing in 12 years. So it's not great from an appreciation point of view, but you can see here it's kind of flatlined really for 10 years, near enough, and then it's gone from Jan 2020 up. That's where there's a lot of capital appreciations happened in the last 2 years. So it's on an upward trajectory right now, which could be good, but that's unlikely to keep going up at that rate. It's just kind of making up for all the fact that it's done nothing for 10 years in that particular area. So what this tells me is that you can't rely on capital appreciation in this area. You'd have to be buying it for cash flow only if that's what you wanted to do. So as you saw, it was hard to find a residential buy-to-let that actually beat this commercial office property when we're just looking at the numbers and the cash on cash return that you can get from it, and the aggravation perspective, and the fact that you got a 5-year lease with, say, 3.5 years remaining on it. Even the HMO in Liverpool cannot beat it. It got close, but then you've got a lot of things that are going to take out of that gross rental income that you can achieve. You're going to have property management, you're going to have maintenance and repairs. All of these things get eroded from your gross rent. So for me, this ticked all the boxes. It was over 9% target rate, it cash flowed, had uplift potential. So yes, I did buy this property and I bought it last year. So the only question now is what's going to happen in regards to the pandemic? Is that going to still impact people working from offices? Are we going to have to go into another lockdown? Is the vaccination rollout program working? Do we need to still work from home in the future? Is that likely to happen again? Who knows, but things are looking brighter. Let's hope we're through the pandemic. Let's hope we can go back to working in offices again, and this investment is a good investment for a long-term office building that will just cash flow.
Go back to your workplaces if you can. That's the message of a government media campaign being launched in England.
Empty office parks, another symptom of this pandemic. But this is taking its toll on some towns, some trades suffering as workers stay away. So now the government's encouraging people to go back where they can.
From now on, the government is no longer asking people to work from home. And people should now speak to their employers about arrangements